Welcome, everyone, to the Cosm January full moon ceremony. Welcome also to the 46th President of the United States. Numerologically speaking, 4 plus 6 equals 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. Let this be the presidency of oneness. Serious challenges are ahead. Let's embrace anything is possible. But back to Cosm. This is our 226th presentation of consecutive celebrations of the full moon, numerologically also adding up to 10, and oneness. January full moon is the anniversary of Cosm's 18th year, in an unbroken chain since January 2003, when we began the tradition in our Brooklyn apartment. Our first full moons were guided by our shaman, Alex Stark, who headed the prayer committee that included friends who all agreed to pray with us in initiating the possibility of identifying artists and visionaries of all skills and talents to join with us in building a chapel of sacred mirrors, Cosm. For 18 years, we've been meeting monthly, befriending a community of temple builders. But Alex, tell us why celebrating the full moon was chosen as a Cosm tradition.
Well, the full moon is a perfect circle of soft light against the infinite starry backdrop of the night. And we feel a personal resonance with this giant luminous orb. The full moon is the high tide of the spirit. When we gaze at it, we're pulled out of our everyday thoughts and return to wonder. Because of the influence of the lunar cycle on our reproductive systems, the tide, and agricultural seasons, for thousands of years, communities have gathered to honor and celebrate each cycle. Spiritually and symbolically, the circle is the most basic sacred geometric shape of unity and wholeness, of oneness. The full moon is actually a reflecting surface, mirroring the greater light of the sun, just as each of us is a sacred mirror, reflecting the greater light of God. Gazing at the night sky, we look up to the heavens. And what can we say about the expanse of the heavens? The universe is all of space and time, all galaxies, stars, and planets, all forms of matter and energy. Our Milky Way galaxy has hundreds of billions of stars, of which our sun is just one. The size of the observable universe is estimated to be 93 billion light years in diameter and contains 2 trillion galaxies, of which the Milky Way is one. Cosmologists say that the universe is much larger than what can be observed. The multiverse hypothesis proposes that our universe is one of many constituent parts of a larger multiverse, which itself comprises all of space and time and its contents. So as we stare up into the observable outer heavens, light that has traveled millions of years reaches our eyes as we behold the infinite. What a rare gift is human consciousness that can deepen our understanding. But didn't Jesus say that the kingdom of heaven is found within? The sacred world is understood to be a higher world, accessed by our divine imagination. Thus, many depictions of the soul and of angels appear with wings. Seraphim fly above us. Do you believe there is a heaven? Maybe you've been to heaven and then returned to earth. Some people have near-death experiences and report meeting spirits of the departed loved ones in a place of transcendental light. Some of us have gone to psychedelic heaven, have had a mystical experience and made contact with the divine. Here's how psychedelic researchers describe qualities of the mystical experience as a universal psychological glimpse of the heavens within, free from culturally determined, philosophical, or theological interpretations. Well, having had a mystical experience, one feels whole and united within themselves and with the cosmos. There's a sense of the revelation of ultimate reality and truth. Transcending conventional space and time, one senses the eternal in a moment, an awakening beyond death as timeless, infinite spirit. In the mystic state, there's an overwhelming sense of sacredness, holiness, divinity, and love. One abides in a deeply felt, positive mood of joy and blessedness, peace. The opposites coexist in balance, paradoxically uniting polarities. The mystical experience is said to be indescribable, ineffable, beyond words. And after a mystical experience, there are positive changes in the attitude or behavior toward oneself, toward others, and toward all life. A faith is born in one's own potential for creative achievement. The mystical experience is our entrance to heaven, and once the existence of this subtle spiritual dimension is known, positive transformations in outlook leave the experiencer open to the power of love. Mystical glimpses of heaven lift the veil on everyday reality, and after returning from the higher worlds, the beatific vision of our transcendental nature seems more real than everyday reality. We've witnessed an aspect of our being that abides in a timeless heaven realm of infinite love, yet we shrink back into the muddled dream world of separate bodies. We return to the buzz and hustle of daily life and often forget the perfection of heaven. Normal waking consciousness seems dissociated from our identity as the infinite presence of being. Yet, recovering the heaven within, the God within, is a gift that can greatly diminish our fear of death, because you realize that your spiritual essence is immortal. Most psychedelic experiences occur outside of both church and controlled medical scientific experiment. And many see disturbing and extraordinary inner visions, and they may feel isolated and even desperate, especially if the altered states seem out of control and impossible to communicate. One of the chief functions of visionary art is to validate psychedelic souls. When people see art depicting a mystical experience and are familiar with the visionary dimensions being portrayed, they breathe a little easier, realizing, I'm not crazy after all. They saw it too. Our inner worlds are connected. Much of the spiritual wisdom conferred during the hallucinatory journey is visual. Only the visionary artists attempt to translate these life-changing experiences into recognizable iconography. Iconography, offering an expanded version of reality, revealing the sacredness of our being, our community, the world, and cosmos. Visionary art is a form of contemporary sacred art. The soul can be guided toward discovering its own divinity by gazing at works of visionary art. And through the doors of aesthetic perception, we renew contact with the infinite. Visionary sacred art dissolves the boundaries of our constricted ego self-image in order to embrace our highest dimension of being. Contemplation of art is the easiest way to expand our consciousness. And many artists today from all over the world dedicate their talent to skillfully portraying their highest psychedelic visionary states through paintings, sculpture, digital media. Well, COSM honors the international visionary art movement by preparing a sacred context. This is why we're building Entheon, Sanctuary of Visionary Art, to exhibit and preserve artifacts that point to our common transcendental source, honoring the artworks that describe mystic heaven worlds. At COSM, we encourage art as a spiritual practice to deepen our state of being and bring us closer to heaven through the creative path. Thank you to everyone for joining us in this quest to reimagine sacred space.
Greetings, cosmonauts! So happy to have you here. Tonight's program contains some fun-loving performances, courtesy of members from the community. Enjoy this first offering by DECA, featuring an activating animated music video titled Clay Pigeons.
The creative power working through the mind of man has produced the modern world. We have learned how to release vast sources of energy, and we've learned how to make wonderful machines. We can travel around the world in a few days. All this has brought humanity under the action of immensely strong material forces. We do not dominate these forces, they dominate us. Life on Earth is getting more and more complicated every generation. There's no room for the inner life.
Back to work, separating grassroots from astroturf. As half-truths they tried to pass off as facts emerge. Keep me tethered to the ground, bring me back to earth when I blast off and take my place in the galactic church. I'm trying to grasp light and dark's vacillations in the white room with black curtains at the station. Cream makes the world spin like dervishes and Daytons and leads men astray into the serpent's machinations. With strictures and cave wall flicks to hypnotize, I eat my daily tripe with bare hands, it's undignified. The mantra on the cloven tongue of mammoths like nails on a chalkboard inside the stomach of a white whale. Eyes popping out the sockets, watching profits line pockets, and the price of bought and sold souls skyrocket. Walk a road, rob with skulls, not with gold, fraught with signs, roadblocks, and obstacles that defy logic. Life's a package deal. You take the beautiful days with dark nights and dance with Maya in the starlight. It's alright. We wax and we wane. There's wildflowers growing from the cracks in my brain. Dry your eyes, revitalize, alive and well, practicing my aim by a grave of fireflies that felt like Simon Magus from the sky and hit the ground.
What do you think is falling down?
Right as rain falls, sent to pacify the violent flames. Hydroplaned on torrential teardrops of crying shame. Find your lane, find the book of life, sign your name. Lose your way, hit creative brick walls. Times have changed, is it? Art or artifice, sleight of hand parlor tricks, arsenic or medicine, hellbound or heaven sent. Sound of sirens, we're here on earth stranded, where the seeds of my present pathos were first planted. If words are weapons, I'll address and press every issue and spit bullets that'll rip through your connective tissue. The priest and guard gave us sin, fire and brimstone, and said it's either devil's nectar or holy water to wet your whistle. But love alone could turn thistles into daffodils. So no dogma for me, thanks, I had my fill. Had my fill of powder, black tar, acid pills, Catholic guilt, and running from my problems like it's track and field. Life's a package deal. You take the beautiful days with dark nights and dance with Maya in the starlight. It's alright. We wax and we wane. There's wildflowers growing from the cracks in my brain. Dry your eyes, revitalize, alive and well, practicing my aim by a grave of fireflies that felt like Simon Magus from the sky and hit the ground.
What do you think is falling down?
Go give DECA some love and follow him on YouTube, Spotify, and all other media platforms. Fun fact, info for all of tonight's performances can be found in the description of this video. Oh, and to answer your question, yes, this broadcast will be available after the stream has ended. So be sure to share with your friends and family. Up next in the queue, we got sculptural visionary Carey Thompson. Let's see what he and his team have been up to over at Meow Wolf's Las Vegas exhibition.
I feel that pervading the universe is this current that is essentially just like creativity and love, you know, and you see it in nature and everywhere. The problem we face today in society is that collectively we're disconnected from that current. Things like greed and separation and sexism are really just stemming from this idea that we have that we're just not a part of everything, that our relationship to the environment, you know, it's all ours for the taking. When we can collectively feel that we're a part of something bigger and interconnected to everything, then our behaviors shift and we become more in harmony. So I try to focus all my creative intention into that purpose. My name is Carey Thompson. My art thing is called Galactivation, and yeah, it's taken me all over the world in different places, setting up at festivals and events, and then doing stage design and creating these large-scale immersive environments. I'm currently based in Costa Rica. I'm here to create a space inside Meow Wolf's Area 15 installation. It was inspired by the old Wurlitzer jukeboxes called Juke Temple. I just wanted to create a space where every wall, the ceiling, you're just in there and you're just surrounded by all this moving light and form and color. And I thought it would be a really cool way to push what I've been doing into a permanent space. Sacred geometry, you see it in honeycombs and flowers and crystals and ancient art and temples. You see it everywhere. I thought that it would be a great tool to utilize in my art because it really reveals that interconnectivity between all things. And it's that current that we all have access to. If we just followed our passions and did what we love to do, I trust that would really work out.
Wow. Thanks, Carey, for sharing your vision and creative process. Word on the street, Alex and Allyson have not one, but 2 installations at Meow Wolf Las Vegas opening February 18th. Score tickets now at meowwolf.com. For this next performance, consider bumping up the volume and putting on some dancing shoes. Smile High and Caren Chroma share in the groove with a colorful tune titled Get Out Your Own Way. Thanks for the reminder, Caren and Smiley. Who else is ready to manifest goals this year? Calling all creatives, consider sending in a video performance for a chance to be featured at a full moon ceremony. Apply online when you visit cosm.org/perform. Show us what you got. Dr. Delvin Solkinson is in the house, ready to share some permaculture insights. Take it away, Del.
J.R.R. Tolkien wrote, "All you have to decide is what to do with the time that has been given to you." Joyed to connect with all of you evolutionaries across the planet. Where are you beaming in from today? Write your location in the comments. Seeing the world as full of possibility is a touchstone of the visionary life. 2021 is an opportunity to upgrade the design of our relationships to ourselves and each other, to our life work, livelihood, and creative practices. Here at COSM, we plant our intentions for the new year, deepening our dedication to becoming better. What is one way you want to become better in 2021? Permaculture design supports people to create the conditions for their best life. One of my teachers is Luby McNamara, who observes 3 ways of being in the world, 3 phases in a process of cultural emergence, which starts by regenerating the design of our own personal cultures and expands outwards to include the cultures of family, friends, and community. The Cultural Emergence Toolkit shares ways of enlivening the learning journey, manifesting positive change through design and action, while cultivating personal leadership. Consider this a visionary design practice. At each phase, think about, write down, or draw something that comes up as you contemplate how this learning can be applied to your unique life adventure. One phase is called Nourish and Empower, cultivating a fertile foundation for change. This includes self-care, embodied by activities like rest, relaxation, regeneration, and recreation, great sleeps, time in nature, healthy diet, and healing practices. It also includes care for others, achieved with activities like practical service, random acts of kindness, cooperating for the common good, volunteering, and charity. Too much of the Nourish and Empower phase can be unproductive. Not enough, and we run out of steam. What activities nourish you? When do you feel most empowered? At COSM, we recognize the potential of a creative practice to nourish and empower, activating one's deeper passions and inspirations. Art has the ability to heal and regenerate. Entheon and its artworks nourish and empower our global community. Pablo Picasso wrote, "Art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life." Another phase is called Challenge and Awaken, cultivating new ways of thinking, understanding, and being. This includes activities that shake things up, transform, and shift the status quo. In our personal culture, this phase can be activated by activities that initiate change. Get to work, chop wood, carry water, learn skills, integrate new information, become more conscious of what is going on out in the world. Shine a light on the shadow, engage challenges, forgive yourself and others, grow and evolve with courage and dedication. Inspiring others to activate this phase in themselves can be helpful. Modeling proactive behavior and living your best life can uplift people to engage in their own work of positive transformation. Too much of the Challenge and Awaken phase can cause overwhelm. Not enough can cause a lack of motivation. What activities help you to grow? How can facing something challenging help you get to your next level? Art making, like any creative practice, can be profoundly transformative. Bridget Marlin, one of the grandmothers of the modern visionary art movement, said, "I didn't know what I meant until I saw what I painted." Here at COSM, we see the positive power of art to challenge and awaken people, opening their eyes to new ways of seeing the world. Aristotle wrote, "The aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance." Another phase is called Move and Invigorate, forging forward with intention and proactively participating in the world. This includes finding effective ways to contribute and is embodied by activities which support us to cultivate and share our gifts, aligning action with purpose and higher service to manifest our dreams and visions. In our personal culture, this phase can be activated by cultivating passions and meaningful relationships, actively participating in the world in our own unique and special way, coming into the light and being seen. In the larger culture, supporting independent creators directly is a way to support others to share their gifts and live their best life. Too much of the move and invigorate phase causes burnout. Not enough creates a crisis of meaning when best intentions are not manifested. What is a passion project that brings meaning to your life? What inspiring people or organizations are you a stand for? COSM empowers people to cultivate their own creative practice for surfacing and sharing their gifts with the world. Some opportunities to share with our growing global community include interacting with COSM social media. Post your art, music, writing, or visionary project on Facebook. Engage with podcasts and broadcasts. Share a favorite quote, message, or memorial on the back patio of Entheon by sponsoring a legacy brick. Share your art in COSM Journal of Visionary Culture by sponsoring space in the Cosmic Gallery, a feature section of the new Entheon edition, scheduled for release at the opening of Entheon. Art can inspire and empower us to live our best life. Entheon and its artworks support our global community to move and invigorate. All three phases of cultural emergence are activated by creative practices like making art, music, and writing. May your journey designing and living your best life include the benefit of activities that nourish and empower, challenge and awaken, move and invigorate. Close with a quote from my hero, Thomas Merton. There is in us an instinct for newness, for renewal, for a liberation of creative power. We seek to awaken in ourselves a force which really changes our lives from within. And yet, the same instinct tells us that this change is a recovery of that which is deepest, most original, most personal in ourselves. To be born again is not to become someone else, but to become ourselves. Happy full moon, everyone.
Dr. Del for the win. Interested in learning more about visionary permaculture at COSM and how you can creatively design your lives, landscapes, and livelihoods? Head on over to visionarypermaculture.com for free resources, learning tools, and videos. His upcoming book, Permaculture Design Notes, is also available for pre-order. Check it out. Continuing onward, we have Allyson Grey with a story from the Torah.
The parsha this month is from Exodus. It's the second of the 5 books of Moses. Moses was born in difficult times. His ancestors, the 12 tribes of Israel, were invited to settle in Egypt 400 years before Moses, when brother Joseph, an Israelite, became Pharaoh's right-hand man. Joseph's people were fruitful and multiplied, and several pharaohs later, the regime considered their success a threat and enslaved them all, first taking away their rights and possessions, and then forcing them for centuries to do the backbreaking work of making mud bricks. Later in Moses' time, Pharaoh again felt threatened by the prolific industriousness of these slaves and sent the proclamation that newborn sons of Israelites were to be put to death at birth. Baby Moses' mother and sister made a basket out of bulrushes and sent Moses floating down the Nile as the Pharaoh's daughter was bathing with her handmaidens. When the princess saw the beautiful newborn floating by, she scooped him up to take home to Daddy. Mom and Sister Miriam watched from the banks and ran over, offering to be the baby's wet nurse. So Moses was adopted by Pharaoh, possibly Ramses I. And while the Israelites outside the palace were sweating over mud bricks, Moses got his upbringing and education in the palace, with his mother and sister by his side, reminding him of his ancestors and of his people. One day, when Moses was a strong-minded youth, he looked out from the palace and he saw a mud brick taskmaster beating an Israelite to death. In a rage, Moses ran to slay the taskmaster. Witnessed by all, neither Egyptians nor Israelites could now trust this youth adopted by Pharaoh. Moses ran for the hills, where he made a life for 20 years as a husband and father tending flocks. One day in his meditation, perhaps after eating mushrooms growing in the grazing field, Moses saw the burning bush, and Almighty spoke to him from the flames, commanding him to return to the home of his birth and liberate his people from bondage. Moses left his family in the hills to confront Pharaoh, possibly Ramses II. The two boys may have even grown up together in the palace. Moses told Pharaoh, "Let my people go," as the Almighty commands. Pharaoh was not convinced. The 12 tribes had swelled to hundreds of thousands of descendants to follow Moses out of bondage, a man who had murdered and run off for 20 years. The Israelites would have to trust Moses, and Moses had to trust Adonai, the one God, to show him the way to be their leader. God instructed Moses that Brother Aaron, his spokesman, should strike his staff on a rock in the presence of Pharaoh, and the staff would turn into a snake. It worked, but Pharaoh's sorcerers could also materialize snakes, so Aaron's snake ate their snakes. To prove the spiritual power of Moses' one God over Pharaoh's pantheon of gods, the Almighty delivered 10 plagues. For the first plague, Almighty instructed Aaron to touch the water with his staff in Pharaoh's presence. All water turned to blood for 7 days. All water creatures died and became putrid. Seeing this, Pharaoh gave in, and Almighty cleared the waters, and then Pharaoh reversed his decision. The Almighty promised a second plague. Aaron should lower his staff before the Pharaoh, and abundant frogs would emerge in droves from the river into houses, covering streets and fields. To imitate this power, Pharaoh's magicians produced frogs. But when Pharaoh again promised to free the slaves, only Moses could make all the frogs go away. Pharaoh would not budge. To initiate a third plague, Almighty instructed Aaron, "With your staff, strike the dust of the earth." Aaron hit the dust, and lice and gnats emerged in clouds, plaguing both people and beasts throughout the land. Still, Pharaoh refused to release Moses' people. Almighty instructed Moses to warn Pharaoh of the fourth plague, saying, "Let my people go, or a mixture of noxious creatures will fill all the houses of your people." Think swarms of flies, biting ants, wasps, cockroaches, rats. Threatened in advance, Pharaoh tried to bargain with Moses. "Men can go for 3 days to make sacrifices, but you can't go far, and you must leave the children, women, and livestock." God was not negotiating. In came the unbearable mixture of noxious creatures. Pharaoh again promised to free the people, but when God lifted the plague, Pharaoh changed his mind. The fifth plague was the death of cattle and livestock by pestilence. Moses warned Pharaoh, "Let my people go that they may serve the one God." The next day, cattle, horses, donkeys, camels, oxen, sheep, and goats of the Pharaoh's people only were riddled with disease and killed by pestilence, devastating their food stores and economy. Still Pharaoh's heart remained hard. For the sixth plague, Almighty told Moses and Aaron, in the presence of Pharaoh, toss handfuls of soot from a furnace and it will become fine dust over the land, causing festering boils to break out on people and animals. Moses did as God commanded, and the Pharaoh's people and their beasts were inflicted with disgusting sores. Before the seventh plague, Israelites were warned to bring livestock under shelter. A destructive thunderstorm rained large, plentiful hailstones that turned to fire on the ground, destroying crops and unprotected animals. Pharaoh's gods could not help them, yet he remained stubbornly resolute. Locusts sent from the sky for plague number 8 devoured all crops that the hail and fire did not destroy. Food supply decimated. The survival of Pharaoh's people was at stake, and still Pharaoh said no. Plague number 9 brought 3 days of immense darkness, representing death, judgment, hopelessness, perhaps the end of days. Pharaoh's people feared for their survival and lost trust in the power of their leader and their pantheon of gods to protect them. Pharaoh again bargained with the Almighty, demanding that animals be left behind. Unacceptable. Almighty would set terms. Enraged, Pharaoh sent Moses away, warning, "The day you see my face again, you will die." To that Moses responded, "At midnight, all the firstborn in this land shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of maidservants and all firstborn beasts." The children of Israel were unharmed by all the plagues they had seen. They now trusted Almighty and the leadership of Moses and Aaron without question. Detailed instructions were given for the departure of a small nation of people. Every Israelite family was to sacrifice a lamb, and with a bloody shank bone mark the doorposts of their dwelling, so the angel of death would recognize the mark and pass over their homes. Before departing 400 years of enslavement, the first feast of Passover was hastily prepared, including roasted lamb and matzah, the unleavened bread. In the 10th plague, Pharaoh lost his firstborn son, and the cry throughout the land was too heavy to bear. Pharaoh sent away the Israelites. Sometimes it takes terrible consequences to awaken people to injustice. Every year since the first Passover on the full moon, following the vernal equinox, descendants of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Moses remember with compassion the tragedy of the 10 plagues and give thanks for freedom won in every age, celebrating liberation and overcoming bondage in every society and within every individual. Throughout the month, friends from around the world have sent in their personal blessings and declarations to be acknowledged and collectively sent by fire to the heavens. We've read them all. Here are some examples.
Andrew from North Carolina sends this declaration. I dedicate to focus on all that is nourishing, advancing, and promising for the abundance of the arts.
Maddie from Ecuador sends a blessing. May all creative minds dwell in a safe environment with access to mental health care so they can trust their own ideas and discover their godlike nature.
Myrna from Washington makes this declaration. I will walk with self-love and speak from a place of compassion and empathy.
Mark from Pennsylvania sends a blessing. Infinite love to all beings. May we reach the heights of our spirituality, artistic expression, and love, while inspiring the world to do the same. Wide open hearts to Alex Allyson, and the Cosm Collective across the universe.
Lori from New Hampshire makes this declaration. I declare that I am a divine being, gifted with free will. I will speak my truth. I will stand up for what is right and good for our world and all of nature.
Arno from New Zealand sends a blessing. May we find solace in challenges and learn to recognize imperfections in ourselves so that these turn into diamonds and scintillating jewels.
Katie from Kansas City sends this blessing. I bless those who have lost a loved one in 2020. May the spirit of healing fill your soul in 2021.
And if anyone in our community out there has given birth this month or has a birthday, we send you a special blessing. Now Alex will put the scroll in the fire.
And may all these blessings and declarations be fulfilled. Many of us tonight have loved ones, maybe even ourselves, who may be suffering distress in body or mind. At Cosm Full Moon, we like to turn inside and hold in our heart those among us who might benefit from a healing prayer. Great Spirit, thank you for blessing this day for our precious body and soul. We feel the sun shining in each of our cells and the strength of your loving presence in our souls. The light of Spirit shines in our hearts, and as we breathe, a glow expands to surround us like a luminous sphere. The brightness in our hearts magnifies as we join together in a gleaming web with countless others around the world. From the superabundance of our combined energy field, we envision rays of healing light stretching to reach, surround, and protect our friends and family in need. May the light shine on all who need healing. Let sacred harmony reign across the earth. To strengthen this blessing, speak the name of your loved one into your space now. And thank you, Great Spirit.
On the full moon, we remember our loved ones who have transitioned to the spirit world, and we invite their memory into this ceremony to honor them. To invoke their memory, you can speak their name into the space as we offer this recitation.
At the sunrise and at the sunset, we remember them.
At the sound of the wind and in the chill of the winter, we remember them.
At the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
At the deep blue sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them.
At the rustling of the leaves in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
At the beginning of the year and when the year ends, we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we're filled with joy that we crave to share, we remember them.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them.
When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them.
Whoa, we've come to this part of the stream already? I guess time flies when you're spiraling upwards. Be sure to check cosm.tv for upcoming full moon ceremonies, art churches on the new moons, equinox and solstice celebrations, plus interviews and special programs. Team Cosm is busy as can be, challenged and inspired to reach out to touch global family. Hey, did you know if you become a member of Cosm, you get access to exclusive members-only Zoom calls with Allyson and Alex? Sign up in time by this Saturday and join us for a tour through their studio. Why we fall in love is a mystery, but how we make our relationships work and last a lifetime has been studied and analyzed. What is the best recipe for choosing the best mate and remaining in love? If you're just as curious as me, be sure to tune in on the new moon for a special art church honoring the undeniable treasure, sacred relationships and life in love. As always, the online shop is up and running, ready to send you artful treasures and sacred gifts. Thank you for embarking on this journey and for being a supporter of creativity as a spiritual path. When the world is in chaos, remember these words by Allyson Grey. Be a beacon and thrive. This is Alexa Spatty signing off. Back to you, Alex and Allyson.
Dedication to love. From the core of our hearts, we dedicate ourselves to the complete and full expression of love in all our activities and in all our relationships.
Love is the soul's medicine, a refuge in our hearts, protecting us from utter despair. Finding compassion in the eyes of the beloved and in the stranger gives us the courage to endure.
May love sensitize us with care and wisdom. May love help heal the sickness and wounds of life. May love enable us to forgive and accept ourselves.
May love enable us to forgive and accept each other. May love help us overcome our cruelty and bitterness, our greed and jealousy, our ignorance and delusion.
May love rule our hearts and minds, directing us to reach out, doing our best to benefit others, to heal suffering, to give gifts, to create beauty in the infinite network that is our world.
A heart of loving kindness pours creative grace into the world. To alleviate pain and mend the heart net, to the healing art of love, we dedicate ourselves.
May any merit generated by our gathering here tonight be offered to the benefit and liberation of all beings.
Happy full moon, everyone.
Thank you.